Hey everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood internet guitar teacher. It's Matt Brown. We're going to do Tearjerker here in this song. I've covered the solo already, so we're going to cover the rest of the song. Now some of you I'm sure are saying, whoa, that's not Tearjerker, what's he doing? That's what Dave Navarro played for the verse sections of the song live, so we'll be looking at that too in case you want to learn that. Alright, so let's look at the beginning of the recorded version of the song on One Hot Minute. And we're in the key of D. And I'll play this for you. We've got this. Alright, so we're playing a D5 power chord. And this is all in free time. So take your time with it and make it dramatic. Then we're going to arpeggiate a D sus2. And we're going to do an accelerando. We're speeding up through it. So... and then strum through our chord. So what happens next is he flicks on, I think you need a Boss digital delay to emulate this. That's what I'm using here. There's a hold setting on it, and I'll show you what that does. So if you turn that on and crank your effects level up, and you set the delay time at kind of a slower setting, what you're going to do is strum that chord and then turn the pedal on, and you can hear it just it's going to keep spitting that chord back. So yeah, and then what he does is another guitar track comes in, or maybe it's the same guitar, but to do that you'd need a second delay pedal. So I'll show you what that does. So the other guitar is playing with more of a quote like normal delay. You know, you can hear it's spitting back there. And what it does is this. So it's just kind of sliding around in D mixolydian. So this is 11 to 9, 9 to 7, 7 to 5. Then we're going to do a bend and release, and then another bend and release, and then some slides. Like that. So all together. And you know, take your time with this and really let it just kind of vibe out, I guess. You know, it's this cool kind of spacey psychedelic thing, so treat it that way and play it that way. Alright, that's where I guess at this point Anthony says, oh, could you turn up the track a little bit, please? And then we go into the next part of the intro. So I'll throw the metronome on and play that part of the intro for you. Okay, let's do it slowly now. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Alright, so let's talk about what's going on here. There's a lot of craziness. So, basically, what we're doing is playing out of a D chord shape, right? And we're embellishing this D major chord with some of the extensions and chordal embellishments that are consonant within this key center of, now we're in D major, not D Mixolydian. So with our D major scale, the extensions that we can add to our D chord out of this little shape, let's look at that. We can do a sus4, so that's adding the G note, and we can add the 6th, which is the B note, the 9th. And some other things that he does here is he creates melody by, like, he moves that's the 3rd of the chord up top, down to the 9th, to the root, and then major 7th over there. So it's kind of a Hendrix-y sort of way of playing. You know, those are the kind of extensions that he would put on these chords too, and that's, so, you know, I would say Dave Navarro's kind of channeling Hendrix here. So let's look at this measure by measure. First measure, we have this. So that's, you know, hammering on and pulling off from the sus4. Some double stop action there. Then we're going to come up to, so that's 14, or sorry, 12, 11, 14. And then back into this shape. Okay, next measure. So playing off of the sus4 and the 9th here. I'll just start from the beginning of this part. Okay, now this next part is the trickiest part probably, where he's moving the melody notes around. So let's look at this. So it's just arpeggiating, but moving this pinky melody note around. So it's pretty tough. So that's that measure, and then we have this. So is the arpeggiation there. So then at the end there we have a hammer on, and then the same notes but picked, and then, so it's a lot there. And then what he's doing is he's strumming that chord behind the nut, the high four strings. So again, rest. 2, 3, rest. Alright, now we come to the verse, and I've covered the one, like the main rhythm guitar part that plays during the verse parts in, I did a lesson on the solo, and the rhythm that's played under the solo is the verse part. So, you know, I'm not going to film that all again. Just check out that rhythm guitar part in the solo lesson. Alright, so the verse part we get here with the kind of lead guitar part I showed you that does the intro is going to play the part now for the verse that I'm going to show you. Alright, so I'll just shut up and play it. To another verse. Alright, so I'll do it slowly without the metronome. Okay, so before we get into the, I guess the fine details of what's going on here with the first part, let's just take a step back and look at the big picture. So, I mean, if you're new to playing this kind of thing, it's really easy to, I guess, miss the forest for the trees. So, the chord progression here, let's talk about that. And I'll just use some arbitrary voicings. So that's a D. We're going to do that for 2 beats. Alright, so then D/C sharp. Then we have G, 2 beats as well. A for 2 beats. Then again, it goes back to the D, 2 beats, D/C sharp, 2 beats. And then what it does is B minor for a full bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So that's the basic framework that he's working out of. Now, so let's talk about the approach to how he came up with this part. Maybe some concept theory is what we need to go with. So if you're playing diatonic progression in the key of D, there's certain extensions that you can add to chords. We talked about this a little bit with the intro, but for review with the D chord, we can do the sus4, the 6th, the 9th. We can throw the major 7th in there. Now for and all that stuff goes for your D/C sharp as well, because it's pretty much the same chord. All right, so for your G chord, a lot of those same types of extensions, like we can do the 9th, the 6th, those both work, but the sus4 here does not work because it's not in the key. So it would be a sharp 11 in the case of a G chord. So a C sharp note is what we could add there. So that's a G major with a sharp 11 in it. So cool sound. Then A, we can do the sus4, the 6th, and the 9th. So, just, some ideas to tell are, I guess, ideas that will give you some insight into how he's creating these kinds of guitar parts. So, let's go through measure by measure now and look at it. So, we're going to be playing out of this chunk of a D chord here to start with. So then we have fingers free to add stuff. So he's pulling off from the sus4 and playing the 6th down here. Now it's cool, over the next chord, the D/C sharp, he actually just arpeggiates an A chord. So that gives you like a D major 9 kind of sound. So, all right, for the the G and A chords, we're going to be playing out of this shape. So it's like your F chord, so we have this. So playing off the 9th there for that A chord. Now we're back to the beginning of the progression with the D chord. He's playing out of this shape again, and we have this. Like that. Chunk of that A chord, B minor, then our pull off. Then we're going to be playing here out of this D chord, and then what he does is some D major scale licks like this. So like that. Alright, and then the next thing comes in on the and of 2 of the next measure. We get this. Like that. Okay, and I'll put it all together. So we're going to do a little half step bend there, and then a lick into our chord. Okay, so then what happens at the ends of the verse is he does some double stops that imply the 5 and flat 6 chords. So that would be A and B flat. So we get this.
and then back into another verse. So you might notice on the recording that the rhythm's a little bit different from one of the. It's something like that. If I had to speculate, I would guess that he made a mistake with the rhythm, and they just decided to leave it on the recording because it kind of gives it some character. Because the bass plays it the same way every single time, and the guitar does for the entire rest of the song. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that. All right, so now we're into a second verse. So this guitar part that I'm talking about currently, it does something different for that verse. The other guitar part, the one that's playing lower chord voicings, does the same stuff. So let's look at the second verse. So to make a generalization, we're building drama. So we have two verses back to back. So for this verse, he's playing mainly higher stuff, like playing up and around here, because playing in a higher register is going to kind of raise the intensity. All right, so let's look at this. Okay, so same chord progression. So let's walk through this. We're playing out of this kind of chord shape for the first D chord, and then over the D major 7 or D/C sharp, he's playing out of this little double stop. So, and then he's playing out of like that shape for a G chord, just a chunk of it. Then A down here, and then coming up here for the D chord again, and then that's going to be our D/C sharp voicing this time. So real cool D major 7 voicing into our B minor. All right, then we're going to come back up here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 in. Then a lick. So, and then like a pedal steel idea. So with that, you're doing a bend, and then those two notes are being held by the pinky. So you get the sound of a D chord there. And then release it down. So that's E to the B minor chord. So all together again, we'd have this. Alright, so while we're talking about the verse, I'm going to go ahead and show you how the third verse goes. Because it's very similar to how the second verse goes. There's just like a little part at the end that's a little bit different. Alright, so let's look at that. So everything is the same up into this lick. The pedal steel thing. So instead of that, we get this. 1. Like that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that goes into, this time around, for the third verse, it goes into the guitar solo, whereas the second verse goes into the chorus. So at the end of the third verse, it does the... It's ideal. So yeah, now let's go back and let's look at the chorus part that this guitar part is going to play. All right, here goes. 2, 3, 4. back to the verse. Okay, so let me talk about what's going on here. We have 3 chord voicings to look at. Just our, tried and true C, E minor, and those chords are going back and forth for a while. Then at the end, we're going to have F sharp minor, and I play it in the case of this song just like this with the 2nd and 3rd fingers. Might look kind of weird, but since you're coming from this E minor, I don't know. It's just something I like to do. So the rhythm, let's talk about that. I'll do it slowly and count it out. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and a 3 and 4 and a, like that. So slower. Again. Sorry, that's kind of weak. So that happens twice. Now the 3rd time is when it transitions into the F sharp minor out of the E minor chord. So 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, like that. Alright, so that is played by 2 of the guitar parts. It's doubled on the recording with 2 different tones. And then there's an octave part that's going on, that's played with the dirty channel. So let's look at that octave part. So the octaves, they come in the bar before the chorus hits with the C chord. So we get like a 1, and we're gonna crescendo. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and then we have this. Then it just stops, and we don't go into the F sharp minor. It just, that track just cuts off. So slowly. Okay, so now the next thing to talk about would be the solo, but like I said, it's already done in the other lesson. So, pause here and go check out the solo if you haven't yet. Learn that. Come back, and we're going to look at the outro. That's the only other thing left to talk about. There's the sitar outro that we're going to play on guitar. It's really cool. So, all right, stick around. So I'm not gonna play the outro with the metronome because there's a retard at the end here, so it's not gonna work out. So here we go. Slowly, 3, 4. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening. It's really actually pretty simple. We have 4 chords in this progression. The first chord is D7, and to get this D7 chord, what he's doing, or how to arrange it on guitar anyway, is
to play like an open D string. And then you have these notes. So you have the C, D, E, F sharp, and you can bend that F sharp up to G2 to get some more color. To get basically a D Mixolydian sound, which is good for a D7 sound. So that happens for 2 bars, and then the chord progression does a B flat 7 bar chord to a C7 bar chord, and I'll talk about what happens within it. And then, you know, there's more D7 stuff, and it does this to here. Then one of the times it does the D7, and then it goes B flat 7 to G7 down here, and then back to D7, and then at the end, B flat 7, C7 to a D chord. So let's look at the little embellishments here. So the first measure is the first measure, and then the second measure is just a little variation on that idea. And then we get this. So 1 and then slide up. So we're gonna play 10 eighths on the second string, and then the 4th string, which is our B flat note. And then back to your, then, so that's the same thing we just did. And G7. Alright, so that's how it ends. Matt Brown. If you want the tabs, just email, or if you have any more questions, whatever, just get a hold of me. You know where to find me. Alright, I'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching.